Jeff had been driving the long-haul routes for over a decade, but he'd never seen a truck stop quite like this. The old diner and gas station sat on the edge of a foggy highway, its neon sign flickering like a dying firefly. He needed a quick break, a cup of coffee, a splash of water on his face. That's when he saw it. The porcelain doll sat atop a dusty shelf, half hidden among old trinkets and rusted road signs. Its glassy blue eyes seemed to follow him as he approached. The frilly dress, once white, had dulled to a sickly yellow. Jeff chuckled to himself, imagining the look on his wife's face if he brought it home as a joke. Instead, he set it on his dashboard and pulled back onto the road. The miles slipped away, the hum of the engine lulling him into a trance. But something was off. The doll's expression, it had changed. The blank stare had shifted into a subtle, sinister grin. His eyes darted back to the road, then quickly back to the doll. The grin was gone. "You're just tired, old man," he muttered, wiping his brow. The radio crackled, static mixed with faint whispers. His knuckles tightened around the wheel. The air in the cab grew colder, and a shiver danced along his spine. His eyes met the doll's again. Its head had turned, now facing him directly. "We're going home," it whispered. The truck swerved as Jeff let out a startled yell. He slammed on the brakes, the tires screeching against the asphalt. When he looked down, the doll was gone. His breath came in ragged gasps. The radio returned to static, but beneath it, he heard a child's giggle. His hands moved to the wheel, not by his own will. His reflection in the rearview mirror was not his own. Glass eyes, a vacant stare. Just another passenger on the endless road. Dan's phone had lost signal hours ago, the GPS map frozen on a desolate stretch of road. His knuckles were white against the steering wheel, the forest on either side pressing in like a living thing. The sun had dipped below the horizon, and the world was now bathed in an oppressive gray. When the gas station appeared, it felt like a mirage. The neon sign buzzed weakly, its letters smeared with grime. He pulled in, tires crunching over gravel, and approached the dusty counter. The attendant stood there, an old man whose skin seemed stretched too tight over his skull, eyes like glass marbles. "I'm looking for Milltown," Dan said, his voice cracking. The old man didn't blink. "Milltown? That place burned down 20 years ago." Dan's stomach turned. His hand fumbled for his phone, but the screen was black. He looked back at his car. The headlights dimmed, the engine silent. The gas station around him was gone, replaced by charred ruins and creeping vines. Shadowy figures moved at the edge of the trees, their eyes hollow and hungry. The whispers began, a soft chorus rising in pitch. Dan ran, but the figures closed in. The last sound he heard was his own voice joining the whispers, his body lost among the shadows. Sarah first heard the voicemail late at night. The voice was shaky, desperate, and too familiar. It was her own voice, aged and broken. "Sarah, it's me. It's you. Don't leave the house tomorrow. Please trust me." She played it back several times, analyzing every word. It had to be a prank. She even called the number back, but it was out of service. As dawn approached, another message came through. "It's not safe. He's watching you. Stay inside." Ignoring the warnings, Sarah went about her day, but unease gnawed at her. On her way to work, a van ran a red light. Metal crunched, glass shattered, and her world turned upside down. Trapped in the wreckage, blood pooling around her, she could hear the distant ringtone of her phone. Her trembling hand found it beneath the twisted metal. She hit the record button, her breath ragged. "Sarah, it's me. Don't leave the house tomorrow. Trust me." Her voice cracked, fading as her vision tunneled. She hit send, hoping it would reach her younger self in time, praying the loop would finally break.